I need advice about my situation with my dad and stepmom. My mom died from breast cancer when I was 12. She fought it for 3 years, but the cancer was aggressive. After she passed, it was just me and my dad for a few years. Dad worked as an accountant and made good money, but he was really struggling to balance work and taking care of me. My Aunt Lisa helped a lot during this time, coming over to cook meals and help me with homework. When I was 15, Dad met Kimberly, 38F, at a work event. She was a new hire at his company working in HR. They started dating and got married within a year. I was okay with it because I saw how happy Dad was with her. Kimberly seemed really nice at first. She would wake up early to make breakfast for us, helped me prepare for my SATs, and even convinced Dad to let me go on my first high school trip that he was worried about. Kimberly came from a wealthy family and had never been married before. She always talked about wanting kids but hadn't found the right person until she met my dad. She tried really hard to bond with me. We would go shopping together, she taught me how to drive, and she even helped me apply to colleges. I started calling her mom after about 2 years because she had genuinely become like a mother to me. Dad changed a lot after marrying Kimberly. Before her, he was always stressed about work and worried about money even though we were doing fine. Kimberly encouraged him to take vacations and spend more time with family. We started having regular Sunday dinners where Kimberly would invite her friends and their families. That's how we met Tommy, 41M, and his wife Emma. Tommy worked with Kimberly in HR and they seemed to be good friends. I went away to college but came home every few weeks since my university was only 2 hours away. Kimberly would always make my favorite meals when I visited and ask about my classes and friends. She even helped me get an internship at her company during my junior year. Looking back, I think she was just trying to maintain a perfect image. After graduation, I moved back home while looking for a job. The company where I interned had a hiring freeze, so I was applying everywhere. Kimberly's behavior started changing around this time. She was always on her phone and would turn the screen away if anyone walked by. She changed her phone password and started going to the gym at weird times like 8 p.m. She told Dad she was trying to get in shape for summer but something felt off. Dad was working longer hours because his company was going through an audit. He would leave at 7 a.m. and sometimes not get home until 9 p.m. Kimberly started saying she felt lonely and that Dad didn't pay attention to her anymore. She would go out with friends several times a week and come home smelling like alcohol. Things got worse when Kimberly started inviting Tommy over when Dad wasn't home. She said they were working on a big HR project and needed to discuss things outside the office. I noticed how they would sit very close on the couch and whisper to each other. Once I came downstairs at night to get water and saw them drinking wine together in the kitchen. Kimberly quickly said Tommy was leaving and they were just finishing up work. Last month, I had a job interview in the morning but it ended early. I came home around 2 p.m. and heard noises from upstairs. Kimberly's car was in the driveway even though she was supposed to be at work. I also recognized Tommy's car parked down the street. I went upstairs quietly and the noises got louder. I recorded a video on my phone as I opened their bedroom door. Kimberly and Tommy were in bed together. They both saw me and Kimberly started crying immediately. She kept saying it wasn't what it looked like and begging me not to tell Dad. Tommy grabbed his clothes and ran out. I told Kimberly she had 24 hours to tell Dad or I would show him the video. Instead of telling Dad the truth, Kimberly made up a story about how I had been acting strange since moving back home. She told him I was jealous of their relationship and wanted to break them up. She showed Dad old text messages where I had called her mom and thanked her for everything, saying I had changed completely after coming back from college. When Dad confronted me, I tried showing him the video. Kimberly started crying and said I had violated her privacy by recording her in her bedroom. She said I had been hostile towards her for months and was trying to hurt her. Dad got really angry at me for recording Kimberly without her permission. He said I was being immature and needed to move out and stop causing problems. I tried explaining everything but Dad wouldn't listen. He told me to leave that night and blocked my number after I left. I stayed with my friend James for a week before moving in with Aunt Lisa. Kimberly told everyone in the family that I had become difficult to live with and was trying to create problems between her and Dad. Most people believed her because she had always been so nice to everyone. Only Aunt Lisa supported me because she said she never trusted Kimberly. She thought Kimberly married Dad for his money and stability, but I didn't want to believe that at the time. Now I haven't talked to Dad in 3 months and I don't know what to do. Update 1: a lot has happened since my last post. After moving in with Aunt Lisa, I decided to find out more about Kimberly's affair. I contacted Jenny from the accounting department at Dad's company. Jenny and I had talked a few times at company events when I was an intern there. She told me Kimberly and Tommy's affair had been going on for over a year. According to Jenny, Kimberly and Tommy started getting close during a company restructuring project last year. They volunteered to work late organizing employee files. Jenny said she often saw their cars in the parking lot until 9 or 10 p.m. Kimberly told everyone she was helping Tommy learn the new HR software, but Jenny saw them having dinner together multiple times. 3 other employees from different departments contacted me after hearing what happened. They had seen Kimberly and Tommy at restaurants 40 minutes outside our city. Kimberly always had an excuse ready. They were attending HR seminars, meeting clients, or working on special projects. She even created fake meeting calendars to show Dad when he asked about her late nights. I talked to Emma's brother Steve, who works in IT at the company. He said Tommy started acting weird 6 months ago. Tommy would take long lunches, always keep his phone face down, and leave early claiming he had to pick up his kids. But Steve saw Tommy's car at various hotels on days he was supposed to be with his kids. Emma works as a nurse doing 3 12-hour night shifts every week. She picked these shifts specifically to earn more money for their kids' college funds. Tommy would tell her he was working late or meeting clients on the nights she worked. Their kids stayed with Tommy's parents on Emma's work nights, so Tommy was free to meet Kimberly. I couldn't handle knowing Emma was working hard for her family while her husband cheated. I made a fake Facebook account and sent her everything: the video, pictures from coworkers showing Kimberly and Tommy together, and screenshots of them entering hotels. Emma replied the next day thanking me for telling her. Kimberly completely lost it when she found out I told Emma. She called Aunt Lisa's house at 11 p.m. screaming about how I ruined her reputation. Lisa recorded the entire call. Kimberly threatened to file harassment charges and said she would tell the police I had been stalking her. Then Kimberly created a whole new story. She told Dad and our relatives that I had been making inappropriate comments to her since moving back home. She claimed I walked around without a shirt, stood too close to her in the kitchen, and tried to touch her when Dad wasn't around. She said she was scared to tell Dad because she didn't want to hurt him. Dad actually believed this nonsense. He called me yelling about how I betrayed his trust and destroyed Tommy's family. He said Tommy's kids would grow up in a broken home because of me. When I told him that Tommy destroyed his own family by cheating, Dad said I was being selfish and immature. Kimberly's lies spread through the family quickly. My cousin Mike stopped inviting me to his weekly game nights. My uncle Robert, who was planning to help me get a job at his company, suddenly said they weren't hiring. Even my grandparents called to say they were disappointed in me. The situation at Kimberly and Tommy's workplace got worse. Emma's brother Steve told everyone in IT about the affair. The news spread to other departments. 3 more women from the company messaged me saying Tommy had tried to flirt with them at office parties. One woman said Kimberly knew about it and told her to stay quiet if she wanted to keep her job. Jenny told me Kimberly started panicking when HR management began investigating inappropriate relationships at work. She deleted lots of emails and asked IT to wipe her work phone, claiming she was having technical issues. Tommy took 2 weeks of emergency leave and stopped coming to the office. The most shocking part was finding out Kimberly was still seeing Tommy even after everything came out. Jenny saw them together at a hotel last week. Kimberly parked her car at a grocery store and got into Tommy's car. They drove to a hotel 30 minutes away and spent 3 hours there. I told Jenny to tell Emma about this. Emma already suspected Tommy was still cheating because he kept making excuses about working late. She hired a private investigator who got pictures of Tommy and Kimberly together. Emma's lawyer said this would help her get a better divorce settlement. Aunt Lisa has been amazing through all this. She lets me stay in her guest room and helps me look for jobs in other cities. She said Kimberly will probably try to stop me from getting jobs locally because she works in HR and has connections. Lisa recorded all of Kimberly's threatening calls in case we need them later. The hardest part is seeing how Kimberly manipulated Dad so easily. This woman cheated on him multiple times but somehow convinced him that I was the problem. Dad thinks I made up the affair story because Kimberly rejected my advances. He blocked my number again after yelling at me about Tommy's family. Aunt Lisa says the truth will come out eventually. She reminded me that people like Kimberly always get caught because they become overconfident. I've started applying for jobs far away from here. I got a few interviews lined up next week. I just want to start fresh somewhere new where people don't believe I'm some kind of creep who hit on his stepmom. Update 2: I moved to Boston for a job as a financial analyst at a mid-sized firm. I've been here 3 months and it feels good to be away from all the drama. Aunt Lisa calls every week with updates from home. Last Tuesday's call changed everything. Dad was supposed to attend a week-long conference in Chicago. On the second day, half the meetings got cancelled because the main speaker had a family emergency. Dad decided to drive back home instead of staying at the hotel. He reached our house around 2 p.m. and saw Kimberly's car in the driveway next to a blue pickup truck. The pickup belonged to Tom, our neighbor who moved in last year with his wife Karen and their 3 kids. Tom works from home as an IT consultant while Karen teaches at the local elementary school. Kimberly became close friends with Karen over the past year, helping her plan school events and hosting their kids for playdates. Dad noticed Tom's kids' bikes weren't in their driveway, which was unusual for a weekday afternoon. He later found out Karen had taken the kids to visit her sister in Philadelphia for spring break. Kimberly knew about this trip because she helped Karen plan it. She even bought Karen a new suitcase as a gift last month. When Dad entered the house, he heard noises from upstairs just like I had 6 months ago. He said something in his head clicked and he remembered how I had recorded Kimberly's affair with Tommy. Dad took out his phone and started recording as he walked upstairs. He found Kimberly in bed with Tom. Kimberly tried her usual trick of crying and making excuses. She claimed Tom forced himself on her and threatened to hurt her if she didn't comply. But Dad's video clearly showed Kimberly laughing and kissing Tom before they noticed Dad in the doorway. Tom ran out of the house half dressed. Kimberly kept crying and saying it was the first time anything happened between them. But Dad didn't believe her this time. He called Karen immediately and told her everything. Karen drove back from Philadelphia that same night. The next day, Kimberly's other affairs started coming out. Our old neighbor Mrs. Peterson told Dad she had seen Tommy's car parked down the street multiple times after I moved out. The college student who mowed our lawn said he saw Kimberly kissing a man in a black SUV behind the grocery store 2 months ago. Dad checked Kimberly's phone records going back a year. There were hundreds of calls and messages to Tommy's number, including on Christmas Day when Kimberly claimed she had a headache and couldn't attend family dinner. She was actually meeting Tommy at a hotel while his wife took their kids to church. The bank statements showed Kimberly had been using Dad's credit card to buy gifts for her affairs. She bought Tom new shirts and Tommy an expensive watch, claiming they were presents for Dad that she was hiding until his birthday. She even paid for hotel rooms using Dad's card but disguised the charges as work-related expenses. Dad finally looked through Kimberly's work emails and found messages proving she was still seeing Tommy. She had created fake HR meeting calendars to cover their hotel meetups. Tommy's wife Emma already knew about this from her private investigator and had shared the evidence with her divorce lawyer. All the relatives who believed Kimberly's lies about me started calling to apologize. My cousin Mike invited me back to his game nights. Uncle Robert offered me my old job opportunity back. My grandparents sent a long email saying they should have trusted their grandson over Kimberly. Dad moved out of the house and is staying with Aunt Lisa while the divorce proceedings start. His lawyer said they have enough evidence of Kimberly's multiple affairs to void any claims she might make on Dad's assets. Kimberly is still living in our house but she'll have to leave once the divorce is finalized. The karma didn't stop there. Karen kicked Tom out and filed for divorce after finding messages between him and Kimberly going back 3 months. Tom tried apologizing to Dad, saying Kimberly pursued him aggressively and he was weak. Dad punched Tom in the face during this conversation and no one in the neighborhood blamed him. Update 3: The divorce between Dad and Kimberly took 6 months to finalize. Their prenup had a cheating clause that Kimberly didn't read carefully. She assumed she'd never get caught so she didn't worry about it. The clause stated that any evidence of infidelity would forfeit her rights to Dad's assets and property. Kimberly tried claiming the video Dad took was illegal because she didn't consent to being recorded. Her lawyer dropped her case after seeing the mountain of evidence: hotel receipts, phone records, witness statements, and emails. She got nothing except her personal belongings and her car. The fallout at work was massive. The HR department fired both Kimberly and Tommy after investigating their inappropriate relationship. 3 other employees filed complaints about Kimberly threatening their jobs if they reported her affairs. Tommy's new girlfriend from accounting also got fired for helping them cover their tracks. Tom's divorce got messy. He lost his work-from-home job because he had been meeting Kimberly during his working hours. Karen got full custody of their kids because Tom had brought Kimberly to their house while the children were sleeping upstairs. He moved to another state after everyone in the neighborhood turned against him. Tommy's ex-wife Emma got their house and primary custody of their kids. She also got a large settlement because Tommy had spent their savings on hotels and gifts for Kimberly. Tommy had to move into a small apartment and can only see his kids on supervised visits because he took them to meet Kimberly while lying about where they were going. Kimberly tried contacting me through Instagram and LinkedIn to apologize. She sent long messages about how sorry she was and how she regretted ruining our family. She claimed she had a shopping addiction and sex addiction that made her act crazy. I blocked her without responding. Her parents stopped supporting her after finding out she had also slept with her dad's best friend 5 years ago. She had to move back to her hometown in Ohio and work as a waitress because no company would hire her in HR after what happened. She tried dating Tom but caught him cheating with a bartender. Dad and I meet once a month now. He drives up to Boston and we try new restaurants together. He sold the house because he couldn't stand being there after what happened. He bought a condo near Aunt Lisa and started taking cooking classes to keep himself busy. Last Christmas was our first holiday together since everything happened. We spent it at Lisa's house with her family. Dad got emotional during dinner and apologized again for choosing Kimberly over me. He's been seeing a therapist to work through his trust issues. I'm doing well in Boston. I got promoted to senior analyst and bought a condo near the harbor. Lisa helped me decorate it during her last visit. I'm dating someone I met at work but taking things very slowly. I told her about my family history and she understands why I have trust issues. Looking back, losing my relationship with Dad for those months was painful but necessary. He needed to learn the hard way that Kimberly was manipulating him. Now he calls me his best friend and strongest supporter. We're not perfect but we're better than before all this happened. Kimberly became a cautionary tale in our family about trusting people too quickly. My cousins joke that they make their partners read our story before getting serious. At least something good came from all the drama. Dad and I have an even stronger relationship now that we survived Kimberly's lies together.